If you're watching this task, you should have completed the Achieve article and be ready to take some notes. We're going to do a little review on punctuating titles. So I want you to open to the next blank page of your notebook. It should be after the chart that you just glued in there for Achieve. And just set up the page. Make a title at the top that says Rules for Punctuating Titles. And then you're going to have 3 different rules that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about rules for capitalization, rules for when we use italics, and when we use quotation marks. And each of those notes will have 3 bullet points. So get your page set up, pause the screencast, and when you're ready to move on, you can continue. So when we're capitalizing titles, we have a few rules. The first rule is always capitalize the first word, the last word, and important words. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But you are copying down in your notes. Always capitalize first, last, and important words. So for an example, the breadwinner, I'm capitalizing the first word and the last word. The first word, the last word, and important words in the middle. If I'm going too fast, just pause the screencast. Otherwise, the next rule is, unless it's the first or last, do not capitalize a, an, and the. Those are our article adjectives. So we capitalize it if it's at the beginning of the word, but not if it's in the middle. So in that previous title, the breadwinner, it was okay because it was the first word. But here, the is in the middle. It's not an important word. We don't capitalize it. A, an, or the do not get capitalized in the middle. Unless it's the first or last, do not capitalize prepositions. So our common prepositions are of, for, with. So the fault, the is the first word in the title, so we do capitalize it. Fault, in is a preposition, we do not capitalize it. Our stars. Anne of Green Gables, we capitalize the first and the last, and important words in the middle. Green is not a preposition, so it get capitalized. And of is a preposition, so we don't capitalize it. Okay, so those are the rules for capitalization. When we do Google Forms from now on, and I'm asking you about the book that you're reading, this is one of the things I will take a point off for. You can't really do italics in Google Forms, but you can capitalize correctly. All right, now let's talk about punctuating titles. There are 2 different kinds of titles. So we have to know, when do we italicize titles? Well, when we're handwriting, it's hard to italicize. Italicize is that little button that kind of shifts the letters over so they're slanted looking. When we're writing, we underline. So the titles of big works are titles that get italicized. And when I think of a big work, I think of something that's not typically read in one sitting. Now, I can easily say I can read a book in one sitting, but it's not meant to be read in one sitting. A book is broken up into chapters, but the big work of itself is not typically read in one setting. So novels, an entire TV series, a movie, and a newspaper. And when I say one sitting, I mean like a class period, like a 45-minute class period. So we couldn't watch a movie in an hour. We couldn't read every single article in a newspaper in an hour. So examples, The Summer I Turned Pretty, you can see it's kind of slanted over. The Vampire Diaries. If I was handwriting it, I would underline it. Now you'll notice we have not talked about bold. We never, ever, ever bold print titles. And we would never both italicize and underline. Underline is for when you're handwriting. Italicize is when you're typing. Now, some of the titles that we're going to talk about are smaller works. And for smaller works, we use quotation marks. We follow the same rules of capitalization, but if it's a small work, it's something that could be read in one sitting, one class period. Like a chapter of a book. You could watch one episode of a TV series. You could read a poem, listen to a song, read an article. So an example is for a poem, An Ode to a Fish. Notice my capitalization. To is a preposition and a is an article. They're not the first or last word, so I did not capitalize them. Here's a song, Blue Suede Shoes. Here's a short story. Thank you, ma'am. See, that'll be for tomorrow. And so if I was reading a book and it had a chapter title and maybe I was referencing it in my writing in chapter 5 called whatever it would be called, I would put that title in quotation marks. All right, tomorrow you're going to do an activity that's a graded activity using your notes. I will check your notes when I come back, so please make sure that you copy the 3 pieces of information that go for each of these topics. If you have any questions, email me. For the rest of the period, you can look at your task list and work on any of those things.